Hi, I'm Jim Morgan. Hello again. Today I'm going to tell you what I'm trying to achieve as a painter over the next year or so. I've got a couple of paintings, an oil and a watercolor that I did about 2 years ago, and I'm comparing those against an oil that I did recently and a watercolor that I did just the other day. And then I'm going to look at a couple of paintings really closely and talk about what it is I like about those paintings. So I'm trying to move from this type of painting, which is tight and really defined, to this type of painting that I did recently, which is much looser. This watercolor has got some good passages of dry brush, but the tree line and the mountains are really too tight. And what I'm trying to move to is one that I did recently, which is much looser, dry brush work, fine brush work, wet into wet, dry over wet, much nicer. This is where I'm trying to get to with my painting and move on from. This is a 20-minute painting done after a lesson with Mary using the paint that was left over. And what I really like about this painting is the way that its simplicity of stroke suggests so much. The little white dashes in the bottom left there, at a distance could be cow parsley, Queen Anne's lace, but close up they're just dabs of paint and a few scratches through the paint with the edge of the palette knife. The poppy field, again, there are no poppies there, it's just streaks of red, and I put them on, they were too strong and I scraped them off, and my word, they just come out just right. And the trees in the distance, just touches of a purpley grey with little gaps letting the sky show through. Palette knife marks that have no definite form or shape, but they just create that tree line. Changes in tone, paint missing. Close in, it just looks like a daub of paint, but as you move away, the mind's eye resolves them into landscape, and it's that I'm trying to achieve in my painting. So this is on the oil side, and I'm going to look at a watercolor shift in a second. Okay, this is an image that I painted a couple of days ago at the weekend, and I think you may well have seen it on the post. And it's one that I'm really quite pleased with, because it's taking into account all of the kind of things that I've been trying to achieve recently. The use of the dry brush strokes, lots of empty paper. I mean, you can see pencil marks that are still there from the original drawing. The boat, which is itself, it reads as a boat when you look at a distance, actually as you zoom in, is just a series of disconnected shapes and brushstrokes that create the image. This particularly nice passage of paint here where you've got the wet on wet of the blue with an overlay of a red brushstroke that runs from one end as a wet stroke to the other end as a dry stroke. And the water itself is great. There's a lot of uncovered paper to create the sparkle, greys and viridians, dry brush strokes, wet brush strokes, and wet to create the reflections. The skyline itself is really quite interesting because again it's just one tone of grey, and it's just where the paint has flooded or washed out that creates the in and out texture of the skyline that allows your eye to see what it needs to see. Shadows on the roof line and so on. That's not something that I've put in there, that's just with the run of the paint. And when you look at the detail of the street lights, you know, there is no detail. When you get in close, it's just a few calligraphic marks, but as you come away, your eye resolves those into the image that you want to see. So yeah, this is the direction I hope to be going in the next year or so.